We are hearing from the courts in Manchester. The former nurse, Lucy Letby, has been found guilty.
Found guilty.
She's guilty. The jury's found Lucy Letby guilty of murdering 7 babies and attempting to murder another 6.
Shocking and harrowing.
I speak for the whole trust when I say how deeply saddened and appalled we are at Lucy Letby's crimes.
The order of the court, therefore, is a whole life order. You will spend the rest of your life in prison.
Right, so Cheshire Police passed a dossier to the Crown Prosecution Service seeking to bring new charges against Lucy Letby. Now, if this were most other cases, most might react with an expectation that perhaps the police know something outsiders do not know. However, an increasing number of people seem to greet this news with a fair amount of scepticism, considering the rise in doubts about Cheshire Police's integrity or competence in these investigations. One could say the jury is still out. There's now an increasing awareness of a number of alarming police conduct issues with the Lucy Letby trial and investigation. Firstly, information suggesting that the blood test result, which supposedly proved insulin poisoning, could have had natural causes, was withheld from the defence. Secondly, Cheshire Police maintained the financial relationship with the Daily Mail podcast, the host of which they were paying for publicity. Thirdly, the police reversed the door swipe data for one of the main doors during the first trial. Upon discovering the error, they generously marked their own homework and concluded it made no difference. Conveniently, the swipe data times claimed by Ravi J. Ram coincided exactly with the police's own error. There are also grounds to suspect that the police engaged in contempt of court during the Lucy Letby trial. Not in the usual disrespectful way, but by seemingly playing God and prejudging the outcome of the trial before the jury had spoken. There are also further issues with the police's statistical analysis.
Obviously, our evidence and statistical analysis showed that Lucy Letby in presence of everything.
Investigative journalist David Rose exposed that the shift chart entering the court was a contrived, heavily edited product refined through multiple iterations before landing in the courtroom. Also, the police fired a professional statistician who told them that they were approaching the investigation the wrong way. Furthermore, Cheshire Police declined to engage in their statutory duty to follow all reasonable lines of inquiry. Medical experts from the UK and overseas describe ongoing areas of potential negligence in the unit where Lucy Letby was removed.
I would say that if this was a hospital in Canada, it would be shut down.
By refusing to engage or even consider this material, the police may be showing a tendency to ignore patient safety concerns. Cheshire Police also apparently failed to investigate hospital consultants properly, despite portraying otherwise in their self-produced documentary about the Lucy Letby case.
By investigating that it could be anyone means we're not focused on one person.
The now well-known article entitled "Hidden Email Cast Doubt on Lucy Letby Verdict" suggests they did not do due diligence on the hospital consultants, instead treating them as witnesses rather than suspects. For example, from the article describing Dr. J. Ram's testimony to the court, which presumably aligns with his statements to the police, prosecuting counsel Nick Johnson, KC, asked, "Did you hear any call for help from Lucy Letby?" His answer, "Not at all." So, considering Cheshire Constabulary dug up Lucy Letby's garden, one might think they might have done some basic vetting on Ravi J. Ram. One might also wonder about the police vetting procedures. For instance, in a Daily Mail podcast interview, lead detective Paul Hughes said that by the time of Lucy Letby's first arrest, they had consulted only one single medical expert.
We had one expert's evidence at that point, so we're waiting for her to fill in the gaps. Go on then, Lucy, you're a good nurse, you tell us what it is.
Some could say that the obvious suspects would seem to be the consultants, as they were technically in charge of the unit. From information surfaced via the Thirlwell inquiry, there's nothing to suggest the police vetted the consultants. Only evidence pointing the other way. The original failure to investigate the consultants might be described as sloppy. This apparently escalated after defence experts reported serious negligence and incompetence by senior consultants who still work on the unit.
The consultant did not understand the basics of resuscitation, of air leak, of mechanical ventilation, and how the equipment...
The needle
perforated the liver. The baby was still being ventilated with a needle in the liver.
This was likely a preventable death.
A competent team would have gone in, aspirated out within the first couple of minutes of the resuscitation of the baby.
This was so obvious as to have us falling off our chairs.
I would say that if this was a hospital in Canada, it would be shut down.
Apparently, Paul Hughes regards these more recent reports similarly to how he treated various internal hospital reviews when he took over the investigation. Instead, he initially sided with the views of single expert Dr. Evans, whose streetwise practical intelligence led to the theory of attention seeking by proxy as a motive.
No, she clearly does love the attention. I think she's loved the attention of a trial.
The love of attention theory doesn't come with many eyewitness testimonials, nor does attention seeking seem like a particularly convincing motive for causing babies to crash.
Seeing the spurious outbursts of emotion, which shows that she likes the attention.
The question of motive also raises why Paul Hughes treated the consultants as witnesses instead of suspects. The idea that Lucy Letby might be blamed for errors others made seems more like a plausible motive than seeking attention or fictitious disorder, which Hughes has floated to the media as potential motives. Aside from public records, police have been contacted about the unit. If you check out Private Eye's Lucy Letby Part 19, it details Dr. Spelena Dimitrova, meanwhile an experienced consultant neonatologist and one of the defense experts, has contacted Cheshire Police 3 times to give expert evidence highlighting serious deficiencies in neonatal care at the Countess of Chester unit, but the police have ignored her. So the police apparently turned a blind eye to potential safety issues and may be complicit to ongoing suboptimal care at the Countess of Cheshire neonatal unit. The most striking part is the police's failure to engage with Dr. Dimitrova. So how can they assess the legitimacy of her concerns? It almost seems like they are more worried about not looking foolish over their original investigation than protecting patients. This also overlaps with their rather questionable approach to statistical evidence. Remember, Cheshire Police hired a statistician, Professor Jane Hutton, then fired her when she said they were taking the wrong approach. It's well known the police eventually showed a chart suggesting Lucy Letby was present for 25 out of 25 suspicious incidents, though that has since been disputed with suggestions she wasn't present for 3. 22 out of 25 remains damning though. It's becoming more well known now that an early analysis by a lead prosecution witness, Dr. Dowie Evans, suggested Lucy Letby wasn't there for 10 out of 28 suspicious incidents. Another dodgy claim by Paul Hughes is this.
Lucy Letby had been moved off the ward. The deaths and collapses had stopped.
Various government reports contest this. Exact figures are hard to verify due to contradictory reports. It has been suggested the doctors lied about the number of deaths after Lucy Letby was removed. Even if true, it's hardly exculpatory for Cheshire Police, who are supposed to be sceptical of all parties, not ultra suspicious of Lucy and deferential to the doctors. One source to check is TIMS, Infant Mortality and Morbidity Studies. If you select County of Chester, on their map shows a red circle indicating mortality over 5% higher than the national average. For 2019, there were 2,458 births with a crude mortality rate of 1.22 deaths per 1,000 births. And that's flagged red for high mortality. For 2021, 2,423 births with a rate of 1.24 deaths per 1,000 births, again in the red zone. So overall, 3 deaths from 2,423 births in 2021 at the Countess of Chester Hospital. So deaths remained in the red zone after Lucy Letby's removal, though the death rate was not as severe as 2015 and 2016. Factors possibly influencing this include improved staffing levels, the unit being downgraded to avoid very sick babies, and more availability of the transport team to transfer sick babies to other hospitals. The transport team's role may partly explain discrepancies in reported deaths. A baby born at the Countess of Chester Hospital who died elsewhere may be recorded as a death at the County of Chester Hospital, potentially unfairly attributing 1 or 2 deaths to the hospital. More likely, the baby was in such poor condition by the time of the transfer that death was inevitable, because local hospitals have better reputations. The next question highlighted by Peter Hitchens is whether Cheshire Police officers involved in the Lucy Letby investigation engaged in contempt of court during the trial. Hitchens writes, "I've discovered another secret police briefing took place during the Letby trial." He notes a secret briefing before the trial and another in the middle of it. Quote, pictures emerged. The Press Association describes the event as a press conference at Manchester Hall ahead of the verdict. Cheshire Police and Crime Commissioner's records show a £2,000 fee for the hall hire on June 30th, 2023, covered by taxpayers. Trial was ongoing then. Lucy's original barrister, Ben Myers KC, was making his final defence speech. Hitchens continues, compare and contrast. After Miss Letby's conviction in August 2023, she was swiftly subjected to a retrial on one count of attempted murder, and at that stage, a ferocious court order prevented public discussion of any part of the case for months on end. When the American New Yorker magazine published a long article casting doubt on her guilt, unsuccessful efforts were made to keep it from reaching the UK. If I had in this period held a press conference on the case, swearing all those present to secrecy but suggesting Miss Letby's conviction was unsafe, and a judge found out about it, I think I'd be in deep trouble. But it's known Cheshire Police threatened to fine statistician Richard Gill during the trial for an amount equivalent to the trial's cost, presumably millions. It's been suggested interviews in the BBC Panorama show airing on the verdict day were filmed at the June 30th meeting.
We were shocked, really to the core, to find that a baby had been injected with insulin. This
is a striking clip given that main prosecution expert Peter Hinn-Marsh theorised Lucy Letby spiked two babies' feed bags with insulin. For a lead detective to discuss injections matter-of-factly raises questions about how closely they were paying attention. In conclusion, there appear to be significant grounds for the Independent Office of Police Conduct to investigate Operation Hummingbird, which could clarify many trials and investigation questions. This summary doesn't cover all investigation issues. Some are only briefly touched on. Publications like The Telegraph and Private Eye are reportedly digging deeper within reporting restrictions. Don't forget to subscribe to keep up with the latest in Lucy Letby and other cases I'll be covering. Take care, stay safe, and I'll catch you in the next one.